Well, hello, boa noite. Carl Munson here with the Portugal show. It's 10 o'clock here, Lisbon time here in Portugal. And we are, well, I've actually been on another call for the last hour or so. And I don't know what might have happened in the United States. And in many ways, I'm relying on you for that, my friends who may be tuned in now on Facebook, on YouTube, and to keep us up to date with what's been going on. I mean, I've been watching the TV off and on all day. The current numbers are what in the race to 270? Please let us know. Who are you? Where are you in America? And how are things shaping up? I haven't got popcorn. I have a nice bottle of Alentejo Red here, which I'm about to open and share with you virtually as we consider this unfolding picture of what's going on in America right now. And yes, Frank, I do have a link. I'm so delighted that you we've been talking for the last hour or so and you still want to talk with me. So just copying that to the clipboard right now and posting it there for anybody else who might want to join us a little bit later on in the show after we've said a few hellos and after I've sorted my green screen out a bit as well. Very amateurish. There we go. That should be a bit better now. I've got to get this lighting sorted out in this studio, but that's not the point tonight. The point tonight is to figure out what's going on and trying to work out, see if we can get a result tonight, and just see what the implications are for that with your journey, your adventure, your unfolding journey and voyage of discovery here in Portugal. So Lauren is in tonight with Andrew in North Carolina, Raleigh, I believe. Biden is ahead at this point. And an hola boa noite from you, Lauren. Thank you so much. What are the numbers? Please let us know. Oh, here we go. She's done the numbers. Fantastic. 248 to 214 electoral college votes, putting Biden in the lead. Okay, very exciting stuff. Could it be then, Lauren, that we might find out during this next hour with what's going on in the States and what that might mean? We know, don't we, that Donald Trump declared a win, then said an unholy fraud was taking place and that it was going to go to the Supreme Court. Is that right? So the acrimony and bitterness has started. We pray for peace and for people to keep it together on the streets in anticipation of these results. But I can't imagine what the emotional temperature is like for you guys at the moment. And I'm relying on you to let us know. We also have a phone line. You can come in on the phone. On WhatsApp is probably the best way to do it. There's the number, 351, the Portugal code. You'll have to get used to that when you tell your relatives one day when they're calling you in Portugal, 913-590-303 if you want to call us. I'm multitasking and opening up my bottle of red right now. And we'll just do a few more comments before we bring on the man like Frank Devane, your Canadian neighbor, who I'm sure will have a thing or two to say about what's going on in America right now, as when it stands at 248 to 214 with Biden in the lead. Jim from Chicago, still undecided. Wisconsin and Michigan are looking to go to Biden. These are where the counting is, the painstaking counting is taking place, right? Arizona also looking good for Biden. Nevada is the remaining state to get to 270. Is this likely in the next hour, folks? And the first of a few maybe tonight. David, a bit ball. I want to live in Portugal. I can't say I blame you, David. Thank you for sharing that with us. Eric J. Hi, Eric on YouTube. Hola, boa noite a todos from North Carolina as well. Good evening to you, Eric. North Carolina can count votes until 11 to 12, but I think we'll know before then. Good heavens, Jim. We will not find out in the next hour. Boo. Oh, Biden is not going to have a statement until tomorrow at the earliest. So the speculation continues, I'm afraid. Hola from Las Vegas, from Jeff, Portugal Hill there. What have you? We didn't see you last night, Jeff. What is your view on what's going on right now? Do let us know. Nevada won't finish their count until tomorrow morning. Why is that? Why is that? While we're answering that question, let's bring him onto the screen. Mr. Frank Devane. Yeah, Frank, I can see it in your eyes. Have you got yourself some fancy new lighting there, my friend?
Yes, I thought I'd light it up properly. Since I look bagged and tired, might as well have some proper light.
You don't want to look like me. How are you? What's your perspective on this right now?
Well, I've been up literally all night, and I've been watching literally all day. Yeah, yeah. I've been watching this literally all day because the thing is, you don't need reality television when you're dealing with anything anything America, specifically politics.
Yeah.
So it's. I was telling Rachel that Canadian politics must seem so boring to Americans because our elections happen. And once the votes start coming in within an hour, hour and a half, we all know what's going on. With the U.S. thing, it's so interesting, and especially now, I was up all night, and I don't know if you got the chance to see Trump's speech when he came up at like 2:30 in the morning Eastern time, at 7:30 like our time in the morning, and just the most out of line, undignified speech he made. He's saying that I'm winning everything, and now that I'm ahead, I think they should stop the counting. And I think there's a big fraud happening. I'm watching this. I'm thinking, is this guy for real? What is he doing? Where's Charles, by the way?
Charles will be with us again. I mean, I think Charles was up really late. He was up early to vote in North Carolina, and he joined us. He was a sport last night. He joined us with Donna Jacqueline for over an hour. Excuse me. And I think he's knackered, to use a British phrase. But he may well join us. He did want to join us, and that's if he isn't slumped in the chair fast asleep at the moment. So he may join us in due course. And anyone else is invited with their political punditry tonight. Would love to hear from you. You can use that link, or you can give me a buzz on that number that's scrolling across the bottom. We have a few. Oh, that's unkind. I think I can share that as well, though. Frank's eyes have got more bags than Walmart. He's made that an American reference. Very good. See what you did there, Gary.
Nice one, Gary. Nice one.
Thanks, mate. If anyone's got any remedies for eye bags, both me and Frank are up for it. Not on live on air, obviously, or maybe, I don't know. That could be interesting. We have Maria Suarez. Good evening to you, Bonoit from New Jersey. And yeah, the count in North Carolina can go on until November the 12th. I mean, that's unbearable. That is absolutely unbearable. Gary's adding to his other comment. Trouble is, if Biden wins, not so many of our American friends will come to live in Portugal, which would be a shame. Is that true? You want to be expats coming to? I know that actually my poll of you Americans wanting to come to Portugal is actually many of you are Democrats, and you just want America to be in Democratic hands, or Democrat hands, I should say. They're not interchangeable, are they? You want America to be in Democrat hands and safekeeping in your absence. So we have both Trump supporters and Biden supporters in our community here. But I still think your plan is to come to Portugal. Let us know. Yeah, exactly. Jeff is saying I'll be coming either way, Gary. And a good afternoon for Anna from Anna Ramsey. Where are you, Anna? Are you an American watching and joining us tonight? Paul Williams, massive thunderstorm here this evening. Wonder if it's a sign of things to come. It's pretty windy here in the Bairrada region. And actually, Vinho de Bairrada, no, Maria Suarez. This is a recommendation from our friend Neil from the Wine Club. It is Vidigueira, an Alentejo red, which, as he said, is very, very nice indeed. I need to let that air a little bit before I quaff it too quickly. But yes, I'm going out of Bairrada tonight with my selection. Here he is, Charles, who you asked about, Frank. Cooking dinner and feeding pets. Be with you soon. Sounds like he's getting ready for Portuguese life, isn't he? Feeding the pets on the homestead, becoming a farmer when he comes over here.
He is. Might as well be, because the score of 253-213. I think he's going to buy his Portuguese ticket soon.
Are you seeing that on the screen at the moment? It's gone up to 253.
Yeah, it's basically they've given Michigan. And well, he's won Michigan and he's won Wisconsin. These were the two big ones. So he's at 253, and all he needs, if they can confirm Arizona, then they can hit 270 electoral votes. And he is the next president of USSR. Oh, sorry, USA.
Canadian joke there, I think. I've got room to talk, says Gary. I think he's in the iBag Club as well. We are coming, says Jim, and we are Biden supporters. So, yeah, Gary, I think your theory there is that our American friends would like Biden in the hot seat, even if they are coming to Portugal. And I think Maria Suarez is approving of my wine choice tonight. I do like to keep it in the Bairrada. You know, what goes on in the Bairrada stays in the Bairrada, but tonight I'm on the Alentejo Red. And yes, this just in, as you say, Frank, 253 plus Arizona 11 plus Nevada 6 makes the 270. So do we think that won't happen tonight, or can we be certain of that?
Jeff, they're saying it will happen tonight.
It will happen tonight. Okay. He needs Arizona and Nevada. When you say tonight, Frank, is that American tonight or our tonight? Before we
No. This will happen. This will happen while we are online, while we're doing the show. This will be a very memorable show. You watch.
Amazing. Okay. Jeff also saying I'm independent but lean Republican except for Trump. I don't think you're alone in that condition, Jeff. I think a lot of, I've seen this on, when I've been watching American TV and even people on the UK radio shows saying I'm a Republican but not Trump. Like sort of distancing themselves from their current leader, as it were. Oh, not nice, you on Bairrada. Okay, I'm getting some flack for not drinking Bairrada. I feel ashamed of myself drinking the Alentejo Red. I'm so sorry, Maria. What do I do? What do I do about that? Is there sort of the equivalent of Hail Marys that I should do to do my penance for not drinking Bairrada Red tonight? Biden winning just accelerates my quest to get to Portugal, says Eric J. And we don't think it will happen today, says Jim. We'll see then. We'll see, because already the punditry is splitting us into a polarity here. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. And I think, as Frank says, it could be a very memorable evening if it does. And I can hardly contain my excitement to move to Portugal. And the thing is, you can't at the moment, can you? This is the real shocker for us, keeping your Portuguese pilot lights lit here, doing our best to keep you excited about Portugal, but without rubbing it in, without making you feel angry that you can't get here. Tell us what that's like for you, and tell us when you think the restrictions might be lifted. Is it going to be like a year or 18 months before you can come? I sincerely hope not, but let's talk realistically about that. What's it likely to be? What's your view on that, Frank, with when travel restrictions might be lifted?
It's very difficult right now, because just going to Canada, I would have to be quarantined for 14 days once I arrive, and by the time you get anything done, you've spent a month over there. Maybe you just wanted to go for a week or two, and right now the borders are not even open. I don't know how it is for the United States, but it's going to be very difficult. I think that leaving everything till April or May, at least that's what we are thinking, if we are to go back home and to get our stuff and whatever, to leave everything till April or May. I don't think this is going to settle down till April or May. There will be a fourth wave, a fifth wave. It's as we've experienced in Portugal, right? The situation is not containing itself. We might even have another emergency lockdown, because we're in between emergency and calamity, I guess, right now, right?
Yeah. We are really dreading that possibility, and hopefully that you're absolutely right, Frank. Some of the districts of Portugal at the moment are in almost like the state of emergency. 121 of them, and the others are still in the state of calamity. So certain restrictions apply, and it is very. I mean, I'm contemplating a journey, and I think I'm not going to do that journey because I'll be driving from the state of calamity to the state of emergency. It is so confusing at the moment, because on the one hand, I'm hearing don't go out to socialize, but restaurants are allowed to be open, but only until 10:30. This is what a friend of mine was saying. So, well, that's a bit misleading. if you're not meant to be going out, why are the restaurants then open? What's the point of having the restaurants open? It's very confusing at the moment. That's not just Portugal. That's pretty much all over Europe right now, right?
One thing is extremely baffling, and I'm quite sure you thought of this as well. So what happens with this virus? Because I'm trying to understand this, right? So what you're saying is, if I walk around on the street right now, I need to have the mask on, but magically, as soon as I sit down, and if I've ordered food, I can remove that mask. And the virus basically is telling me that, God forbid I disturb you while you have your lunch, or come and spread to other people. I won't bug you while you have your lunch or dinner, but after dinner, you better put that on, because, then it'll become personal. I don't understand what the thinking is behind this, because now you're walking around on the streets, and I don't know how it is in other parts of Portugal, but in Lisbon, if you are walking around without the mask, and if the coppers, if somebody feels like giving you a ticket, they can give you a ticket anywhere from 100 to 500 euros for you not wearing a mask, just walking around, like you're in the park or wherever. It's getting to be a little bit ridiculous.
Agreed. But I mean, what you don't know, Frank, is that actually lunch is so important, and dinner. Well, eating generally in Portugal, that there is a deal with the COVID virus not to attack people whilst they're eating, because food is so important in Portugal. I thought you would have known that by now.
No, I do realize it. I just didn't think that the food would be so cooperative, but it is. This is a situation. I think. Because when you tell human beings, when you tell sensible, at least half, like not a full-on idiot like myself, that, hey Frank, I'm telling you, I don't want you to do this because it's good for you. At least give me a few good fundamental reasons to be able to follow through with it. I just don't that's why a lot of people are saying, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm not one of those. I'm a law-abiding citizen, but there are a lot of people. I can see a lot of people jumping in and saying, no, I'm not going to do what you're telling me, because it hasn't been explained properly to them. And the rules are there, but there has to be, they have to define why they're saying what they're saying. I don't know. Have you picked up on this? Have they said something that I've not picked up on?
In what sense? What specifically?
As far as their instructions are concerned, like, have they explained why when you sit at the restaurant, it's fine for you? Obviously, you have to eat, so it's fine for you to show up and, remove your thing, and you can have your chat, you can have your whatever. But as soon as you get up from there, you finished your drinks and whatever, then you need to immediately put it, because that's when the virus toll starts.
I was tempted to say that with the research, soup was going fairly well through a mask as long as it was finally pureed, but it got difficult with pasta and pizza and that sort of thing, and fish. No, I mean, clearly, I mean, if you're going along with a non sort of, and I use the term advisedly, I don't mean this as a put down, but I'm just contextualizing. If you go with a sort of conspiratorial or a non-conspiratorial approach with this, I mean, obviously, it is a pragmatic approach, isn't it? It's like, wear masks as much as possible, and where you practically can't because you're eating, you're excused. But I can't wait to get in a restaurant now so I can take my mask off. That's is it? Are you the same?
Yeah, exactly. I'm actually, if we're walking around somewhere, I'm just saying, you know what? I want to take this bloody thing off. Let's sit down somewhere and have a quick beer.
Yes, and let's have 5 meals today.
Absolutely. Have snacks, empanadas.
Mag says, and we're aware, and this is absolutely fine, because you make this point, Lauren, tonight. You say, I know this is supposed to be about elections, but how are COVID cases under control or increasing? I'm very open to the discussion of how the pandemic is being mismanaged tonight. Let's get those views out there. Let's talk about it. Absolutely no problem at all. So no need to apologise for that, Lauren. And straight in with a comment, into the mix here from Mag is, hi Carl, hi everyone. The idea is to confuse people, so all get desperate to get a vaccine when it arrives, just to get back to a normal life. Same SH1T all over. Can't have any country outside the narrative, is Mag's view. A view from Wales, from Jay. Wales coming out of lockdown on Monday, and straight away there's going to be a Christmas fair with with a big wheel ride and Christmas market stalls, etc., would rather still be in Portugal listening to cockerels and stray dogs, though. And to address your comment, Eric, Frank, he's saying the word to use is arbitrary, and you can't deny that it is arbitrary, can you?
Yeah.
It's sort of, if you're to be sort of very charitable about it, it's well-intentioned arbitrariness, because you cannot have a cohesive and complete approach. It will be arbitrary and pragmatic, and that's if you are sort of benefit of the doubt and being completely charitable with what we're being asked to do. And then, of course, you have Mag's view as well at the other end of that spectrum. A few more comments to go through, and I'm sure we will keep talking about COVID, and I will call up the current statistics for you in Portugal, so you know as well, as they're being reported. We are Biden supporters. Okay, this is Blythe, another Biden supporter planning to make Portugal home in the future, regardless of who is president in the US. Well, says Jeff, if you obtain a D7 visa, then you can travel to Portugal from the US. I'm just waiting on my job, really, hopefully within the next year. True, Jeff, but if you can't, if you're not allowed into the country by Portugal, that's not going to help. And what I foresee, it's getting to a stage. I had this vision of how we're living under occupation. It's a similar mindset to how people must be when they're living under occupation, but we don't have an occupying military force. We have an occupying viral force, don't we, that we're at odds with. And so this sense of occupation is there psychologically for people, with an enemy that can't be seen, and it's being managed by governments in a way that's causing the sort of conversation we're having now. You know, how do you make sense of 5 pages of regulations and the arbitrariness that's being mentioned? And I'm thinking, with if this goes on much longer, and I'm not condoning this or saying people should do this, but people will find ways of moving around, won't they? They'll go across land borders. And if they're not already, I'm sure people are doing it already. You know, on the official narrative, the official level, you can't fly, you can't move. But people are inventive, aren't they? And if people feel the need to really change their lives or do something drastic, they will. And we see this, don't we, across the channel from France to the UK. People get in the most dangerous boats to do that journey, and if people become desperate, they will start ignoring these sorts of border controls, I think. And again, I'm not saying I condone that or anything, but I guess that is just a pragmatism that will come from the people.
Well, it's a combination of what's been happening. Obviously it's been the entire year. Everyone is tired, and if you want to see the evidence of half anarchy, is when people are like, they've got their, have you seen those folks walking around with their mask, and the mask is like half hanging down till here, because they obviously don't want to get the ticket. If they see a copper around, whatever, they'll just bring it back up. So you've got like the half maskers walking around. And then you've got people who are just, you can see in their face that they are just, they've had enough of the mask, so they actually want the officer to engage with them, so they can tell the officer to go wherever. Yeah, I'm finding it very interesting. I think if the laws are arbitrary, then I think the ticket should be very arbitrary as well. So if you're telling me at some point, if you're going to come up to me, it's going to be like, sir, I've just watched you without a mask, and I'm going to give you a ticket. And then if I've got like it hanging, like say technically, if I've got it hanging over here and it's not fully there, you could be like, I just got off from there and I was just going to put it on. How is this going to work? Not everyone can be arbitrary. This is a situation which I know that I think what they're trying to do is give us a semblance of we are in control and we know how this works, even though we all know that nobody knows. I don't think there's anything sinister by the government at all. I just think they're in the same mix. They don't know any more than us. And they just want to look like they're in control, and that's why they're giving these instructions. What do you think about that, Carl?
Well, I think it, like on sort of philosophical political terms, if you have a government, the clue is in the beginning of that word, govern, and you've given your mandate, haven't you? If you are living in a political system and a system of government, inevitably centralized government will see the population as numbers of people and will come to the easiest measures to enact. They're not going to consult everybody, are they? They're not going to factor in everybody's, a range of needs and a spectrum of opinion. That's not what governments do, especially when the chips are down. They look at the numbers and it's brutal, and they make their best guess, and often it will fall on the side of being controlling rather than libertarian at times like this. And I'm not defending it. I'm just observing that that's what happens with government, and the clue is in the word government, isn't it? That's what I think about that. And that's why ultimately long term, my vision for politics is much more localization, not terrible centralization where you are numbers to people. We know terrible things happen when people think about other people as numbers. It's human nature not to be so empathic and caring and sympathetic to people when you're looking at a spreadsheet that's supposed to represent them and you're looking at data. If you know the mayor, and I know that there are different problems locally, because you tend to get with human nature, you tend to get a different sort of mafiosi approach, don't you? And the strongest personalities dominating. But when people know each other, to some extent, they relate to each other and they treat each other differently. And that's of no consolation to anyone in America right now, is it? Because you are where you are. You can't suddenly localize. But I would say that is part of the reason why it is like it is, because people are numbers to other people. And you can't have this crazy idea we were talking about last night of the most powerful man in the world, let alone, most. You can't have one man leading a country, can you? It just, although we project onto that person and everybody wants a savior, and that's why I think we do it. Come on, guys, we can't live like that. It doesn't work like that. What say you, Frank, about that?
Well, it's what you're saying is government by barrio. Remember, we were having barrio, or the area. So I don't know if this is what you were talking about, because this is what remember, I don't know, a few weeks back you and I were having this conversation about how governments should become much smaller and by the area. So let's say, for example, this is my barrio, this is my neighborhood, and based on this neighborhood, you can have small governments. You can have the mayor of the area based on the area, they can have certain rules and regulations as far as garbage goes, as far as pandemics go, as far as everything else is concerned. Because I think our trust in big governments like federal governments and stuff like that, throwing the rules down, is kind of waning. I think the time for big government is about to end, especially with what we are seeing in the United States. And one thing I will agree with you as far as the presidency, or even let's say, it depends on the kind of governmental system you've got. Even if you've got a prime minister, you can have as many advisors as possible. What you're then telling me is that he makes the final call, and I guess if it would be a much better idea if we had at least 5 to 6 people making that call together. I would prefer that much better than one person making that call.
Yes, and the reason I think, we'll come to your comments in just a moment, because they are great and there are many of them. But you want I guess it's okay to have an executive or a figurehead and a grown-up. This is what occurred to me today about what's going on in America. Is when is a grown-up going to come in and tell Donald Trump to sit down and stop talking nonsense, and tell Joe Biden to stop saying "shut up, man," and grow up and be statesmen. And what we know is, of course, is that they're both in contention to be the most powerful man, as it were, in America. And there is an absence of grown-ups, isn't there? And that's what you want from a president. You want the president. And I think, to be fair, the president of Portugal is more of a grown-up and does have that sense of not so much executive, but statesman-like leadership and oversight of what's going on. I think constitutionally he is able to hire and fire and execute, not people, but certain decisions. but he's in that position as a check and a balance, as the nominal grown up to tell everybody to calm down. And he did challenge the measures in Portugal and said these aren't law; these are recommendations until they are made law. And that's what you want the grown up to be doing, is coming in with that sense of calm and wisdom and eldership. And we're not seeing that at all in America at the moment, are we? I mean, no one would say we're seeing that in America right now.
Well, I think people would have a much easier time respecting that one individual's wisdom more than that one individual's power. And what the problem that we are facing on a regular basis is we are being told that you have to respect. When a guy like, and I don't mean to offend a Donald Trump fan, because there's many of them out there, but when somebody says that you need to respect Donald Trump or an individual like himself, forget about his past. Just listening to that individual, you're like, no, this kind of this buffoon with that, especially with that hair, will not cultivate any respect for me. I will look at him and I'll be like, I don't know about you, dude. Like half of you've made a 5 to 10 minute speech, and all of it there's not been a single piece of fact in there. When you look at a person like this, who is full of false bravado, who is just full of hot air, there's nothing else coming out of this guy. You can see that this person was propped up because of his status in the society. It was not because of his wisdom.
Yeah, agreed. And I think that's where Marcelo is much more grown up, mature, and more of a statesman, and he's a great example, actually. Not perfect, I'm sure, but a much better example. Lovely comments coming in, or maybe they're not lovely, but there are comments coming in. Jeffrey Scott says Biden is going to save our country. I can come back to where I left my heart, the Algarve. That sounds like a nice arrangement, Jeffrey. Leave Biden in charge and then come back to the Algarve. The current theory, according to Gary, is that the virus can hang around in aerosol droplets for quite a while, which reminds me of a great joke, but which is inappropriate to tell quite now. But aerosol droplets for quite a while. So if people pass each other without masks, your chances of breathing in molecules increase. In a restaurant, you don't move around so much. Totally get that, Gary. But we know the practicalities of that still don't add up, do they? Because it's like Frank and I were saying, we can't wait to get into a restaurant so we can take the damn mask off. But there you go. Australia seemed to have it under control. This is what I understand currently. Yeah, but not after not until some pretty draconian stuff over there and destroying the economy. This is the problem, isn't it? It's not just the pandemic, but it's the treatment of the pandemic and the measures that have been put into place that are going to cause an unholy mess in other areas of our lives, economically, socially, mentally, physically, spiritually. We haven't seen the start of that yet, I don't think, but I don't want to be too much of a downer on that tonight when we're talking about the upbeat matter of American politics. Hola, boa noite. It might be coming. I might be coming to Portugal sooner now, says Anne Julian. Because Biden's getting in, and welcome to the club, says Mag. Is that rip your mask off as soon as you get into a restaurant club? I'm not sure. A home move is permitted travel, whereas holiday making is not. That is a wonderful distinction and music to some ears here, because Mark Rigby, who is saying good evening from Portugal and South Sea, exhausted from packing, getting rid of stuff and sorting everything out in preparation from escaping from the UK this weekend. I love the fact that you've tested that, Mark, and it would seem that you've established a precedent there of moving home is essential travel. That is a method that our American friends here perhaps can employ. That's really good intel. Thank you for that, Mark. That's a really good shout there. Just kidding. Enjoy your wine and love your program, says Maria. Okay, I've got Maria happy. That's important to me. And Chris is going to strangle me if you say 18 months again. I will come over there and strangle you, but not until 18 months. Apparently, I'm sorry, Chris. I'm just saying that is one time limit that people have mentioned. But there you go. Mark has hit the nail on the head there. Tell them you're coming to live here. It might come to that. These research trips might not be looked upon so well, but if you're coming to live here and you can figure out the preparations for that, get people to act as power of attorney, sign on your behalf, act on your behalf. We know people who can do that. You're moving here, and that's a life choice, not a bit of tourism. It may overcome restriction. Who knows? Let's have a look. What else are people saying? Jumping around in the comments here, and I need to learn how to type. And don't worry, Jan, we're going to be here for a while yet. You take your time. Trust science and the doctors, not the politicians. Well, I would like to, Jeffrey, but I'm encountering quite a few scientists who seem to be at odds with each other, and doctors too. I'm sure Frank's got something to say about that. We'll come back. Take a lesson from the Asian countries and wear a mask. I wear one 8 hours a day now at my job. And of course, when I go out, 98% of us wear underwear, even though it's not a law. You don't know that for sure, Jeff. You can't tell whether Frank and I have got underwear on. That's an educated guess, I'm thinking. Wear a damn mask, says Jeff. Fair point, Jeff. Fair point, and well expressed. Is that govern as in government or meant as in mental? Thank you, Neil, for that. A very Neilish comment. Not sure if you'll see this. Thunderstorm has taken out power and phone signal. Told you it was a sign. Scary stuff. Scary stuff, and that is in Portugal. But we don't want to be putting people off like that, Paul Williams. The election in COVID from Blythe have amplified massive flaws in the US systems. I agree with you, Carl, that one man can't lead. However, in the case of the US and COVID, we need one unified plan. You so do. And you need a vision. To get beyond this polarity and division and bitterness and hatred, you need a vision that's going to unite people. And I can't see that coming from either of the candidates right now. And that's why you need the grown-ups. That's why you need the elders. And that's why you need the statesmen, in my view. The way the US splits that policy state by state creates mass chaos, and everyone is playing a different game. It is madness. Biden is a grown-up, says Ginny, not a saint or a robot. Most humans would lose their temper with Trump telling lies all night. Please don't put them in the same category. Fair point, Ginny. Chris, we have been worried about you, Mark. You had been talking about making your final arrangements for your move, and then the lockdowns happened. Glad to hear you're still on track. Yes, I second that. Good man, Frank. Don't know why. Is that for not wearing underpants? I don't know. Respect and leadership is earned, not taken. Okay, it's referring to that, how you can't take Trump seriously. How does 138,000 votes come out of nowhere, all for Biden in Michigan? The election is rigged, says Eddie Clutch, throwing another spanner in the works of our conversation tonight. They are coming from mail-in ballots from the Detroit, Grand Rapids, and Kalamazoo areas, which are bigger cities, and lean blue. Nothing rigged about that. An instant response to your question there, Eddie, here on the Portugal show tonight. Hello all. Stressful day here in the US. You kept that quiet, Beth. Commando Frank, his secret is out, folks. That affects the statistics that you came up with there, Jeff, I think. But yeah, point well made and taken here, Jeff. Thank you for that. Yes, Frank. Anything that you want to pick out from the comments there?
No, I was just like, how many people look at the both of us? Do you really think we care to wear underwear when we go out? Look at, especially in this COVID days, who really cares when you go out? You just go out, right? You're commando most of the time, pretty much, right? You've shared that secret with me, Carl. Come on.
Funny with all this talk of COVID and politics. You pick up on the underpants.
Yes.
And this, yes, rigged. And she's talking about the elections, not your underpants. There, Charles Mitchell. If Biden should win, the Democrats and lefties will get more than they bargained for. Kamala Harris. Charles, are you feeling a Trump win slipping away from you? How are you feeling tonight, mate? I'd like to know, and how do you know that information, Gary? It's funny, isn't it? It's human nature to want to know the answer to these important questions. That's the elastic freedom movement. This is becoming very weird now. I was hoping for some sense from Lisa Bakioki over there in the States, but this is becoming open season for people declaring how they are with their underwear. I haven't worn undergarments or pants with a zipper since February. And look at her profile picture. She's got a massive smile on her face. It may be something to do with that. Who knows?
Yeah, it does. Freedom.
Liberation.
Yeah.
Is that close as we're going to get to freedom? So you go out with a mask, but secretly know inside you are free and liberated under your jeans.
Absolutely. You're like that. You're like that kid without a diaper. You're like walking around.
Sticking it to the man.
Yeah.
Frank always finds a way to bring it back down to the gutter. We've gone there with him, though, to be fair. He's a leader. He's a natural leader. Benoit, guys, must run, says Blythe. Thanks for the commentary and for covering the US developments. And is not impressed with how things have turned out. Oh, my. When I get there and meet up with all of you, I may be looking at you sideways. It's all about the underwear for Jeff in Las Vegas. I mean, come on, I'd expect you to be a bit more open-minded in Las Vegas, you know, given that what goes on. I was going to say what goes on. It's more of what goes off. What comes off in Las Vegas stays off in Las Vegas. And suddenly this discussion has got interesting.
Yeah, and speaking of undergarments and Las Vegas, there's a bar, right? It's actually in one of these hotels, and it's got like ladies' undergarments hanging like all over from the rafters. The entire bar is about like bras and underwears. It was actually a very interesting bar. The drinks were kind of overpriced. Because, you know, I'm just like, are you charging me to like look at that? Like, that's expensive. The drinks were kind of expensive, but the scenery in the bar was interesting. Charles gonna hate me now.
It does appear Biden will win. Yeah, to answer the question about how Charles is feeling tonight. Thank you for that bit of tourist information about Las Vegas, by the way, Frank. It does appear Biden, people have been making notes about that bar. It does appear Biden will win and he won't finish his first term and Kamala will take over officially. This is the plot line and the plot twist I think a few Republicans are fearing, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's in charge and will lead us to destruction. So this is the Trojan horse, isn't it, of Biden? That will unleash Kamala Harris on the US, which is a theory people have had. So I think that, and you're being accused, Frank, of going the full Porky Pig all day. I don't know what that means. I don't want to know what that means. Vegas, baby, from Eric J. We've really lightened the mood tonight. This is fantastic. Over the things I've seen in the last 20 years would make your toes curl in Las Vegas, I bet. I mean, we struggle a bit in England, you know, on in the coastal towns when hen parties come to town. I can imagine Las Vegas is a whole.
There's nothing like Vegas, Carl. I'm telling you, we have to do, because I've done 2 trips to Vegas, and I'll trust me, I'll segue to what's happening in Nevada just now, because I've looked at something. But if you do a trip, like there's a couple trip to Vegas, and then the real trip is the guy's trip to Vegas. And I'm quite sure almost everyone will appreciate that. I still haven't done that. You and I can see you, me, and Gary and Neil doing a very nice trip like that. Charles can come along as well. Chris as well. Be a nice trip.
I don't understand what I intended to do political coverage, and now look, hey Charles, it's Barry Maguire time. Yeah, I'm just putting it out there. I don't even know what that means.
No, the segue was that Nevada is still up for play, but Nevada only has 6 electoral votes, and what's going on is I don't even think it's going to matter if Biden gets those 6 electoral votes, even though he's ahead. And the county that they are counting right now is primarily I think it's a Democrat county. So I think this is pretty much going to go for Biden. But I suspect, Carl, this will be stuck in the courts for the next 3 to 4 months until inauguration, which will be in January.
That is unbearable, isn't it? So the unfolding scenario is that it goes to the courts on appeal of rigging and fraud and electoral misconduct. And not only that, if Biden does win, I understand he doesn't come into office until nearly the last week of January. This is an interminable that's not a clean break, is it? That is not ripping the plaster off and getting on with the new regime system. That is an interminable situation for both sides.
Well, just tonight, the way Trump was talking about it this morning, he was like, the states where I'm not doing so well, if you can continue counting the votes, but the states where I know now the mail-in ballots are going to get counted, can you stop it immediately? Because I'm ahead right now, and if we get to count everything, then the other guy will be ahead. And as soon as he saw that he fell behind, I think in Michigan, he sent he's got two sons. The other one, the more incompetent one, he sent that kid to Michigan with a few lawyers to have a look and monitor everything. So as CNN came up, what they were saying is that there were so many people from the Trump camp over here supervising that they had to kick some of them out. Immediately he's talked about lawsuits. I don't think he's going to let it rest. This guy, they will have to send the National Guard in to the White House. The day when it's done very nicely. Well, the president who's leaving the White House and the one coming in, they say goodbye to the helicopter and the other one just buggers off. That's not going to happen. Someone will forcibly have to take this guy out while he's clinging to the White House. I think this is not going to be that easy.
You're not expecting a sudden show of dignity.
No.
Okay. We're not finished with Vegas and underpants, it would seem. I mean, we'll try and move gradually away from that. And I do want to go back to the serious matter of how Portugal is dealing with the pandemic. And I have got the latest figures for you, as you asked, Lauren. So we've got a real mix tonight, haven't we? Upbeat and downbeat and everything in between. And I thank you for that, because I think we do need to keep our sense of humor. Charles says not even the Democrats want Kamala Harris. Xander in Texas says, I thought the man cave was Friday. I think we've lost her. I'll catch up with you guys on Thursday. That'll be for the wine club. Actually, I've got the wine here. Beautiful Portuguese espumante for next Thursday night. That's going to be lovely. Some will be using it to celebrate. Some may be using it to drown their sorrows. It's tomorrow night, isn't it? Thursday, of course. And also, Gary's reminding me here, well, you did tell us what happened to your undies the other day when you put them on back to front. That's me. I should take responsibility for that. I like to be transparent, authentic, and accountable in my work here. And that is a true story. I was so tired the other day. I put my underpants on. So that is the giveaway. I'm not in the same condition as Frank. So I'm wearing undergarments, and I put them on inside out and back to front, which is really difficult when you're desperate suddenly to use the facilities, and that's when I discovered that situation. So thank you, Gary, for that reminder. Chris Roberts says, Porky Pig, like most cartoon characters, I guess, has no pants or underwear. That's that mystery solved. The only cartoon character to wear underpants is really, is he called Captain Underpants? Obviously, it's the giveaways in the name. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. That has to be said and observed. That's the law. I still don't know who Barry Maguire is. I think Frank has been tripping for a while, says Charles. Vegas is amazing. Terence got married there. A Barcelo Award winner this week, Terence Austin. Wow, he got married in Vegas. I can imagine him in the Elvis Chapel in that thing, actually. Now you mention it. With
that pole he had in his hand, or shirtless, right?
Yes, indeed. Yes, stripped down to the waist, getting married in a chapel in Vegas. When we go to Vegas, Rita, Linda, Louisa will be going to Paris, apparently, and I suspect we might be funding the trip, and that'll be our way of getting to Vegas. No contest, says Rachel. Gary's given that his agreement as an executive of the Expat Man Cave. And Charles, going back to my comment about this interminable how it's managed for you Americans when the presidents switch over. 79 days of hell between now and inauguration, as Charles sees it. Chris On the blue side, Biden may end up being president, but Trump will destroy the whole place on his way out if he can't stay in power, just like the selfish child he is. And as you were describing him, Frank, we've all played sport with someone like that, haven't we? Who changes the rules, who probably owns the equipment. It's that person who you've played sport with, who or golf, played golf with, and they suddenly change what's going on to suit their victory. We know that person.
I used to play. You actually just reminded me. I used to play squash with this buddy of mine, and he, in the beginning, for the first 3 or 4 months, I'd get beat all the time. This is exactly what started happening when he started getting beat. He told me once. He goes, you know what? If this happens next time, I'll just pee right here on the court. And I'm just like, is it so bad for you? This is horrible. It's so bad for you. And I think this guy is exactly in the same situation. Trump, but I don't think it's just because of power. I think there are other things in the works, because if he's out of power, then all those other lawsuits, all those other things, he might even end up in jail within the next year and a half. If this happens, because there are a lot of lawsuits pending for him. He changed, because right now his home state, he changed to Florida instead of New York. They're saying that it was not just because of the voting thing. There are other reasons behind it as well, because for him to go back to New York is a very difficult thing now.
Yeah, amazing. I hadn't thought of that. That's a very interesting angle on things there, Frank. Amazing, very interesting. Okay, more comments. Douglas is with us. He called in last night. Bon night from Douglas. I hope you're doing well. Charles will not let it lie. I can't wait to see how Biden's great mind handles the pandemic. Well, we won't be able to find out until the new year, which will be interesting. Because again, I mean, you don't want a bitter president in office, do you? What the chaos? This is why when people get fired, 2 security guards appear and you're given a cardboard box immediately, aren't you? That's what should happen with Trump. If he loses, he should go, because it's true, he will cause chaos.
Well, technically, he should be lame duck, but I think this is going to be angry duck. This is not going to be a lame duck president. On his way out, I think he's going to pardon all his buddies who've committed crimes. All those golden shower parties will be dismissed. It's this guy on his way out is going to do a lot of amazing things. You watch. He's going to make it interesting.
Unbelievable. It'll be interesting to see what Democrat foreign policies will be towards Russia and China. And of course, all the pre-election saber rattling and posturing changes, doesn't it, to what actually happens in the cold pragmatism when someone is finally in office. But Bugs Bunny doesn't wear any clothes. Please don't give Frank ideas. Don't give Frank ideas, because otherwise the next thing we'll know, he'll be going the full Bugs Bunny in Lisbon just with a mask on, and then even that comes off as soon as he's into a restaurant. And don't say things like that. Only able to get the green label for tomorrow night. Hope it's celebratory, says Paul. Good on you, Paul. You'll be joining us for the wine club. That's fantastic. That fizz is available in the gold label and the green label. Both are excellent, I understand. So that should be fun tomorrow night. Lisa, I find it funny. Oh, okay. She switched from undergarments to politics. I find it funny that Republicans are so afraid of Kamala. Also funny, disgusting that Trump cares zero about America and simply wants to hang on in the White House to keep himself out of prison. Yeah, I think aligning with your theory there. I guess whilst he's in the job and is the boss, this fate can't befall him, can it? What justice might come his way? As long as he's the president, he can stay out of the heat. So we'll see. Quid pro quo. Joe will have his own Russia collusion to deal with as well. Dear, oh dear. I really don't. The more I hear, the less I envy your situation there over there, guys. Sorry to say it. Remember what the Germans did during their retreat in World War II. I'm afraid that Trump will do between now and January. Good heavens, that's a sobering thought, Jeff. Okay. Chris Roberts says, everyone has to start using the term angry duck for the next 79 days. Awesome. So I think Chris wants to strangle both of us now. for bringing that up and saying what was on our mind. Don't worry, it's just as nice, Paul. Oh, that's referring to the green rather than the gold fizz. Why on earth, says Ginny, would a Trump fan consider living in Portugal, a socialist country? This is very interesting. We can see your political colours nailed to the mast there. Thank you for that comment, Ginny. It's the same with Brexit people in Portugal from Britain. These are the people who have an interest in people, foreigners. I mean, some of them are motivated in this way. Not all Brexiteers are of this kind, but many have been caricatured as the people who don't like free movement, but then they end up in Portugal thanks to free movement. I just think it's one of those funny things, Ginny. It's a human nature thing that's hard to explain. What do you say, Frank, on that?
Well, it's the entire idea behind Brexit is being a protectionist, right? In every way. If you are a protectionist and you want to protect certain things within your society, wouldn't you want to stay there to protect it? Or are you going to leave? You're going to bail. You're going to go somewhere else and try protecting long distance. I don't think that works. I think it's kind of silly. I can also see why a lot of Brits want to leave during this time, because obviously it's a very chaotic situation.
Yeah.
Overall, I find that Americans and Brits find themselves in the same situation because the architect of putting them in that situation is that one guy.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And I don't think that there is necessarily an inconsistency with being a Trump supporter and wanting to move to Portugal. In the same way, I know some really smart left-wing Brexiteers, and they didn't get a look in. In the quadrant of, if you did a Boston, is it called a Boston matrix? It's like, stay or leave, and red or blue, left or right. No lefties who wanted to leave Brexit got any airtime at all. It all got caricatured as, socialist people who wanted to be part of the EU, and that was extended into the romance of being part of Europe, and that should never happen. We should never leave, as though we were actually going to leave the continent, not just the political bloc of the EU on the left, and on the right, the caricature was, we don't want foreigners coming over here. We're going to put up our borders, a Trump style. So that the caricature was there in that diagonal. You never heard from people on the left who wanted to leave the EU and people on the right who wanted to stay. That's why these polar politics occur, because that's how it gets reported. That's where the focus is. I'm not keen on that, and I do have some sympathy with Trump supporters who still want to come to Portugal, I have to say.
But Carl, what do you think? Why does no one speak about Scotland? Because the way, I'm not trying to stir something up. But what I'm saying is that, don't you think that they are also being a part of the entire mix? Their opinions are also very important, because as far as they're concerned, they want their own country, right? Scotland.
I don't know who or what you're talking about. Scotland, what's that? Well, this fits in completely with, I think, the political zeitgeist. All occupied territories want to be free, and Ireland, Northern Ireland to some extent. There are people there. There are people in Wales. There are people in Scotland for whom the idea of independence is very attractive, and I understand it. I really do understand it, and it fits in with my sort of localization agenda. But the great problem happens, of course, and that's why even if you are a Brexiteer, you do have to kind of hang your head a little bit and think, okay, philosophically, politically, I want to leave the EU, but I'm also aware of this terrible, pardon my French, shitstorm, which is about to befall the country and the people, and we just don't need it right now. And that's the case, I think, with these entrenched positions of countries that have been allied and part of a union for a long time. I mean, it'd be the same in the States, wouldn't it? If one of the so-called United States wanted, and I know this happens, doesn't Texas want to be free of the United States? I'm not sure, but
in Canada we've got Quebec.
Yes, and you can, on the one hand, you can understand it. And on the other, if it were ever to happen, it will cause chaos, won't it? There's no doubt that the pragmatism of it, the practicality of it, will be chaotic, even though the spirit of it and the philosophy of it might be completely understandable. And and the UK doesn't want to see the back of any of its what supposedly unites it, because it diminishes the overall power, doesn't it? That's why it doesn't get talked about.
It does, because if you allow for one to go, then what's going to happen with Northern Ireland? You've got like so many different issues to deal with over there. In Canada, we've got Quebec. We got saved by 1% in the referendum. We've had referendums over there, and this one was very dicey. A lot of Canadians were not very happy with Quebec. You guys have probably the same kind of issue over there.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I don't see that ever-ending peace. Well, I mean, I don't mean in terms of war, but it's going to cause unrest and difficulty, whichever way you look at it. Based on it's almost like a sort of a political karma, isn't it? If you occupy and take a country, and the people in that country don't want to be occupied anymore, that's going to be a difficult process. There's no way of getting away from that. That's going to be a difficult process.
Well, in the end, if you look at it, they would all work well together. I think independently, a lot of these countries, or like, let's say Scotland, not being in the UK, would not. I don't think they'll be able to manage it themselves. The same kind of thing in Portugal. What would Alan be without Pedro? You know, like it won't work.
I'm sure there are Alantasian separatists. There will be. There absolutely will be. And people will be, along the lines of human nature, there will be the people who think, philosophically, this stinks. Politically, it stinks. I do not want to be an occupied territory of a bigger union. And then there'll be the others like, I can't be bothered with going through that process. It's going to be a massive upheaval. Let's just keep it the way it is. That's, this is human nature, isn't it? And this is what the Brexit has done in the UK. I want to get 264. We are edging towards. We've had another little bit of information come in. 264 for Biden.
Gary says CNN says 253, but I'll go with Gary.
Amazing. All right, let's go look at a few more of these comments as well. This is fantastic, everybody. Sorry we went off on one with Brexit and Scotland there, and me and my personal views. I do apologise for that. Hold on. So we went from Ginny asking, why on earth would a Trump fan consider living in Portugal? I think we covered that. Chris says, very true, Ginny. I asked that before, and the answer is the cheaper cost of living, not the people, culture, or anything like that. Or just whatever serves their selfishness. That's a harsh caricature, Chris. And I'm not saying there aren't people like that, because I know of many British people like that who are basically colonialists, and will go where the cost of living is cheaper and will not want to fit in. Again, it's human nature, and it's a bit embarrassing.
But it's also a practical reason, right? Like I also understand that bit as well. Is if a person is saying that it's nothing else, it's just economics. Like, if I go over there, my dollar will go further. I know ideally in a romantic world, you'd want to hear, oh, I love the wine over there. The Vista, Portugal is this and that. But if a person turns around and says, you know what, my dollar will go far over there, you can't. It's that's also feasible. I'd buy that too.
Yeah, me too. But if it's the only reason, it becomes a little bit more difficult to accept, doesn't it? And I put my hands up. I'm an economic migrant myself. Yeah. That is the basis of why I'm here in Portugal, because we do experience a better standard and quality of living here. So I put my hands up to that. But I also attenuate or moderate that with a genuine wish to be part of the culture and not be a separatist.
Absolutely.
And you can judge me on that, folks. As the story unfolds, we might be a socialist country, but we still have to live under the right centre, right EU masters. Good point, Gary, and that's referring to Ginny. And the EU, to me, I mean, I think we are letting a little bit of our own sort of personal views come into this, I think. if that wasn't obvious already. But I agree with Gary. The EU is a neoliberal capitalist sort of right-leaning thing, essentially, and that's what people confuse in the romance of being in Europe for regular British people is all collapsed and mixed up with and hides the true political intentions of the EU in my view.
Yeah, but how else do you want them to fund the countries in Europe that are not so well off? Countries like Portugal, countries like Spain, countries like Greece. When we were in the area near Coimbra, we were in a very scenic area, and there was this like walk path that was they had gotten an architect to do this for them, and we had a chance to meet the architect, and I was asking him, so how much did this project cost? He looked at me with a big smile, and he goes, it cost $1 million, and it was paid for by the EU.
Yeah.
So how else do these projects get funded? They get projects.
It's complicated. It's complicated, and Portugal is a beneficiary of that system, isn't it? Without a doubt.
Yeah.
And you then see. I mean, that's a really good example and a beautiful example, isn't it, of these wonderful projects that are funded by Europe. And then you might drive on a toll road here, which you'll see one other driver on it, and you see the kind of worst of the neoliberal capitalistic approach of the EU. That this road got built because of European money. We don't know if it was really necessary. The burden of upkeep is now on the Portuguese taxpayer. So sometimes it works out in the instance you give, but I think there are as many examples where it doesn't work out, where it is just again, the EU people in the European Union HQ looking at other people around the continent as numbers. Let's throw some money over there. Let's look at some grant applications. They don't set foot where this money is. It's all numbers. It's all notional and conceptual, and some of that just doesn't work out, Frank.
But the same guy was also saying that if this money was made available, like let's say this €1 million was made available, if you don't take the money within a given period of time, then it gets taken away. So you have to, like, let's say if you've been given funds to make this highway, and within the next 6 months to a year you don't come up with a project, then that money will get taken away. So you'll be like, no, we'll take it. We'll build that.
And you start a construction company quickly. Yes. That's what happened. Some of us are conservatives, says Julien, not Trump fans. Yeah, we referred to this condition before. It's like the left-leaning Brexiteer. Moving to a socialist country like Portugal is a choice. Staying in the US, where our government may change drastically in the next 8 years, is my concern. The Democrats are heading far too left for my taste, a sentiment that is reflected by Eric. USA has no experience in being socialist. I don't want to be part of that experiment. Yeah, I mean, I think we've got a long tradition in Europe, haven't we, of being socialist and not being so terrified of that. You know, and I want all you Americans to sit down now, because I'm going to share something with you. There are actually communists in the Parliament of Portugal as well, but it's not what you think. I said it, Frank. I said,
what have you done? What have you done?
I don't want to be part of the growing pains of a socialist US, says Anne. Portugal has been doing it for a while and probably has it right. Exactly. You know, there is a history, a very different relationship to socialism. My fear is that it's all sort of dissolving into this centre-right, centre-left thing that is very EU. But let's see. Good food and wine, friendly people, and a way to make my retirement savings go the furthest is what I'm looking for.
That's it.
Yes, Eric, and hopefully a little bit of integration. We'll help you with that. Yes, integrate with other expats. Really fit in. You are moving because of the imaginary bogeyman, says Chris. The bogeyman that your news has told you that Biden might be. The rest of us are moving because of what Trump has already turned America into. But please don't move if Trump is in power. Oh, I love you guys so much.
Chris, I thought you were moving here. What's going on?
I think he's sticking it to the Trump fans. Oh, my goodness. there's a whole stack of comments here to go into. So we are staying part. Are you all right for a little bit longer, Frank?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, and thank you everyone for your forbearance and patience with us and me getting through the comments here. It's Hawaii, Carl. No Republican senators or representative. Independents is a lot of their people's goal. Okay, so it's Hawaii that wants to be again. Yeah, it's an occupied. It has that sense of occupation, and they want to be free. This is going to happen all over the world. You mark my words. I look forward to Friday night in the man cave, drinking and talking nonsense. We've already started, Charles. I wish Canada Trudeau would take Maine in. Are you up for that, Frank? Speaking on behalf of your
we're happy to, as long as you would take Quebec.
It's a deal. It's a trade. What, like in one of those spy movies where they hand over, in the mist and fog on a bridge one night.
I hope no one from Quebec is listening. But like if they were to, they'd be like, "Hey, we come with culture, we come with the French language, and we come with the French culture. Quebec is beautiful. It's just that economically, it's the rest of Canada has to babysit Quebec. So it's a nice trade."
What is it about the French? I was reading my American history, and the French sold Louisiana, didn't they? It was French occupied Louisiana and got sold to the Union, presumably at some point.
Yeah.
Fascinating stuff. The fact that a massive area in America is owned by the French and then sold back to the Americans or the emerging Union. It's incredible. Gary is correct. 264 Associated Press is the reputable source. So history is happening in front of our eyes here. We may be edging towards that 270 as we speak, as we hang around here on the Portugal show tonight with me, Carl Munson, and my colleague here, Frank Devane. Can a country adopt a state?
We'll figure something out.
Yeah, we'll sort it out. Frank's in charge of that. He is our minister for that sort of thing. Looking from the outside, Rachel here, from just next door to you, I think in the next room. I find it interesting when people refer to the Democratic Party as left-leaning. Very interesting. Yes, that is an outsider view. What do you think, Rachel? It's all kind of right-leaning, centre-right sort of stuff, shades of right in America there. And Julian says, we've researched countries and Portugal was most attractive because we wanted to go to Europe when we leave the US. Plus, I love the language. Yeah, Amote. I apologise to Anne. I shouldn't have suggested she shouldn't move, but the government, and this is what we love about Chris, isn't it? Is that he is passionate about his views and he's an utterly respectful and wonderful man, often with us in the man cave. But if the government doesn't change, will you still have the motivation to move? Okay, I love that. I mean, that he's seen the heat of the moment and rephrased his question. That's beautiful, Chris. Thank you for that. I noticed that. Who funds the EU? Says Gary, and I think that's a slightly barbed and loaded question, isn't it?
Oh, Gary, you want to go there today, eh?
Just leave that hanging there for a moment. We're coming to Portugal regardless of who becomes president here in the US. It's just a question of determining when to retire and go. I'd rather go sooner now. That's all. Totally understand, Anne. Steve Merwin, thanks, Steve, for joining us tonight. Whoever wins, job one must be to mend the deep divisions in the US. Absolutely, this is what I say. You need a visionary. You've got to stitch it back together. And that's why left and right should be in the government chamber and in the office, not at the ballot box. You want someone who you can identify as a leader that we talked about as an elder. And then these polar shenanigans should be happening as the machinery of politics on a day-to-day basis handled by the politicians, not polarity on the streets and among people. If you get my drift with that. So the president's job is to bring both sides together and move this country forward. Steve, that's music to my ears, and I'm sure it is to others as well. Charles says, how do the Portuguese people feel about North Americans, Brits and Chinese buying up all the property? How long before Portugal is gentrified? That is a great question, Charles. And that sounds to me like a whole debate for another evening. And we'll ask, Portuguese people tuned in tonight, let us know what you're thinking there, because that is a real risk and it needs to be managed well. Cat's out of the bag. That's referring to my my views about the EU, I think, and other views. Eric J. from Lisa, exactly right. Far too much wealth and greed in the US for socialism to work. And I can't get out of my head your comments about underwear, Lisa. I'm afraid to say. But to Eric J, exactly right. Far too much wealth and greed in the US for socialism to work. Yeah, and I don't know if you're saying that as a kind of negative thing, but it is contextual and it is cultural, isn't it? And context is so important, and history is so important. And I think something that we love about America is that it is this. You've mentioned this before, Frank. It is the land of the free and the brave in terms of its stereotype and its context. And we associate this idea of the Republican idea as outsiders, I think, of the small government, freedom of the individual. You know, that's what I think we see from the outside, Lisa. And I think you're right. And I don't see it in a negative way. I just see it as suiting the character of the American personality. Would you agree, as a Canadian neighbor, Frank?
It's the type that has been copied everywhere. So why would we move from it? It's Canada has adopted it, UK has adopted it, Germany, all these countries have adopted it. Why would you move from that time? I think that America has a special place as far as teaching the world about fame, greed, wealth, to the extreme. You've got layers of celebrity. Who knew these kinds of things would happen, where there is an actual celebrity and then there's a fake celebrity?
Okay, there you go. That's how we see it. This is what we see. That's what your Canadian neighbor is saying. This is what I'm saying as a European. That's how we see it.
That's how you see it.
Trump will be there in the background and unrestrained. He will be causing problems constantly. I'm sure that's true, Chris. Commies in Portugal. I thought that might stir things up. It's the Communist Party, and it's not what you think. Commies in Portugal. I'm leaving the USA to go away from what is coming. Don't let that bother you, Charles. They're in the minority, but it is part of the Portuguese psyche, and I think it should be there and represented in the broad spectrum of what's it called? What's that political system called? Proportional representation. The US could be the most powerful socialist nation in the world. Wow, that's crazy. Gary's really stirring it up tonight, isn't he? He does that, doesn't he? He says these seemingly inoffensive things and then steps back, I think, to see what will happen. Maine has more trees than people.
And that's exactly why we would adopt a Maine. We need more of that in Canada.
Yes, you do. That would add to the Canadian stereotype, of course. We can trade Maine for Quebec. COVID kept the Quebecois. Is that Quebecois, I beg your pardon, out of Maine this summer. It was kind of nice. Honestly, get a room.
There's a French bias going on over there. What's going on? I did introduce it. Trust me.
Get a political room, you two. Chris Roberts, the court fights haven't even started. Don't count on who is president until January 21st. So I think that's people who are continuing to laugh at me when I suggested we would do US election coverage on the 3rd and 4th of November, knowing full well that this wouldn't be sorted out anytime soon, and it is going to be an interminable and unpleasant battle. Here's something interesting that Gary's putting in the mix as well. The last great statesman who could mend these sorts of divisions was Nelson Mandela. And certainly, reparation will be the key, won't it? Big vision, reparation, forgiveness, compassion, seemingly in short supply at the moment in America. And you do need someone of that stature. You definitely do. Lisa, don't knock it till you've tried it. What is he referring to now?
I think which wine was you drinking today, Gary? I'm really interested.
Yeah. I think Lisa means that some people will steal money. So we'll steal so money from the system that socialism will never work here. I agree. That's what I mean. The American psyche is not wired up for true socialism. Okay, Paul Williams, we should never put the US up as an example to the rest of the world. Oh dear, today proves that. He's got a point. But you can't just judge it on today.
Well, here's the thing, Carl. I was talking to Rachel about this. Can you imagine? This is the interesting thing about the United States is the U.S. actually sends election representatives in other countries to go and monitor their elections and make sure their elections are fair. Can you imagine? And this is it's. I don't know if you are that powerful. I guess you can have the gall to be able to do these kinds of things. But the world is watching this. It's very interesting. America is a fascinating place, man.
Thank you for that, Frank. Did you hear the incoming phone call then?
Yes, I did.
I don't even know who it is. Who is that in Caldas de Reina who's just called the show? Oh, they put the phone down. Very funny. How old are you? How old are you who just phoned the show and then put the phone down and cut off Frank in his flow? Okay, you got us. Oh, dear, oh, dear. I mean, I know we are opening ourselves up for all sorts of pranking with that, but come on, grow up. Let's go back to some fabulous comments that are coming in. Where are we with these? Oh, yeah. What is the political system, Portuguese political system like? Centrist. And I did go into it. I did give a sort of Wikipedia account of it last night on the show. You're certainly you are least worst personified in America at the moment, aren't you? Who are we going to choose the least worst? We've had that conversation. For me, what's going on in Portugal is the least worst in so many ways as a way of managing the country, and there's a good balance and across representative balance, it would seem, across the house, the political house, if you like, and we've got the presidential position. As political systems go, it's pretty good, but I personally I would like to see a lot more power coming back down, not going. That's the danger, I think, for Portugal, is that power is moving up. The division between rich and poor is getting bigger, and that's what tends to happen, isn't it, with neoliberal systems? So we've got makings of something much more local. The whole structure is there. I keep saying it. Frank, sorry. Go on. Well,
at least until these regulations came in, I was thinking it would be called respectful. I think it would be called very. It's a kind of country. It's not necessarily. I wouldn't call it a socialist country. It's the system over here is very respectful. We've been seeing some odd. I don't know if you've shared with your audience the news clips we've been seeing of these right-wing. Some of these attacks that have happened by these right-wing factions, but other than that, there has been some rare stuff like this, where people are kind of saying within the next 1 or 2 election cycles, these right-wing factions will be in power. But when you go and look at their power right now, they've got like 1% or barely 2% of the vote. I don't know how long it would take them to have a proper to be able to even be recognized in the political faction.
Yeah, and you can hear from the echo. We have our caller again. Who are you, and where are you calling from, caller?
It's Jacqueline.
Donna Jacqueline is here. Everybody, act sensible.
Hello, Donna Jacqueline. How are you doing?
I can't get the chat to work, so I thought I'd phone.
Yes, you are most welcome. What do you have to say to us tonight?
I just wonder why nobody really ever talks about the value of life.
The value of life?
Which is like sort of... don't have to act sensible.
But you are our expat elder. You are the grandmother of this community, and it just feels right that we stop larking about for a minute.
I'm even going to fix my colors now.
I think, but let's just go for Portugal for a minute. Why people want to come here?
Yeah,
and I think there is still a higher value of life and that sort of thing, and family. And
I think we keep losing you.
I love you laughing about.
Oh, okay, good. I'm glad to hear it. I think you've got a bit of an echo loop there, haven't you, on the technology?
This is not working.
No, well, actually it is. I mean, we're very glad of your call, and that is a really important point. because inevitably when you talk about politics, you get into the sort of the economics, don't you, and the kind of rationality of it all. And you make a great point, Jacqueline. Jacqueline, that there is something really special about Portugal in the regard for family life, of quality of life, and that is something we need to remember.
They are losing it as they pass laws that actually show that nobody values life very much, which is, I'm sure you can work that for yourself.
Yeah.
But I would think that that's something that's more important to us than finances.
Absolutely.
Because although the idea of the American dream and the freedom, their constitution was always based on the value of life.
Yes.
And that's what they've lost. And that's what they're going to continue to lose. If they don't get somebody in power that does value life.
Yeah.
And I just think that that's an important factor when we understand who we're putting ourselves under, because when you kill babies at one end of life and have euthanasia in the middle, then we have things happening like the pandemic where nobody can get treatment unless they've got COVID. Begin to wonder what on earth's going wrong.
Yes.
We're dealing with human beings, not with diseases, just diseases.
Yeah.
We're dealing with people and families.
Yeah. The impact. And that's more difficult.
Probably being a wet blanket.
No. I think this is so important to have this kind of reminder, don't you think, Carl? I kind of think that it's the rhetoric that's promised, maybe in the United States, but it's lived here. I guess that's the gist of it.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I think the American psyche recognizes something special in the Portuguese way of life.
Yeah.
Absolutely, that Jacqueline's referring to there, and that's no wonder they want to come here. Whether they're Trump or Biden supporters, they see that here and they want to come here. So, Jacqueline, thank you so much for calling and reminding us of that, and to have the sort of open-mindedness to find our underpants humour enjoyable as well.
Sorry, Donna Jacqueline.
We're a couple of schoolboys suddenly, aren't we? Do you think she's not talking to us anymore?
No, she's there.
Well, she's listening to the echo. She's listening to the. There we go.
I secretly listen to the Man Cave nights.
That's brilliant. And I hope you're one of many who secretly listens to the Man Cave nights.
I am talking to you.
Oh, fantastic.
There's such a delay that I can't...
I think you need to be talking to us on the phone rather than through the computer, perhaps.
Am I talking on the phone or?
I think you are sometimes, and then you might be having a conversation with us coming through the whole
whole
world of the internet.
From room to room.
I see. Okay.
I would really dearly love to get my chat working.
We will see if we can get some IT support over there soon. Because
okay.
we want your comments. Keep trying, please keep trying. And thank you so much for calling us tonight. Really appreciate it.
Lots of fun.
Yes, lots of love to you. Abraços.
Thank you.
To you.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao. Isn't that fantastic? Donna Jacqueline there, the grandmother of our community, bringing some sense to the proceedings, some much needed sense to the proceedings. Back to your comments as well here. I hope we've covered that, Susan. What is the Portuguese political system like? I think we've covered that. I'm dying over here, says Lisa, and Charles is adding to this. Quebecers, he's calling them, in their speedos on the beaches of Maine every summer. What a sight!
Mm-hmm.
No love lost by the sound of it. Paul, do you mean the example set by the people on this show or the government? I'm sure Paul means the government, the politicians. The people on this show are awesome. Don't knock it till you've tried it. Is Gary saying with socialism? And did you see in the Expat Man Cave? I posted up a book that suggested that women's sex lives were better under socialism. Just to light another fire in this conversation. It's not a view I necessarily agree with, but there it was on Amazon. It's available. It's a book that's available that suggests that under socialism, women have more satisfying sex lives. I couldn't possibly comment. People already abuse the welfare system and use it as a personal piggy bank and a paycheck. Never socialism here in the USA. Charles is quite certain of that, isn't he?
Hey, yeah, Charlie.
Let's send Bolivia now. Yes, Rachel. Let's send Bolivia now to check up on the US elections. It's got to that. Amazing. Lisa, the US is extremely narcissistic. Too many people care more about their wallets than their fellow humans. Very sad. And that's what Donna Jacqueline called to say, really, didn't she? I don't want to write people off like that. I just think this is a case of people losing their way. People aren't made like that, are they? They become like that in the context they find themselves. And when the chips are down, which they may well be now, people will reach out to people, I think. So it's either going to be vision or it's going to be terrible circumstances, which reminds people of their humanity, I think.
Well, a lot of the times we confuse the people with the people who are representing them, and they are not necessarily the same. So it's 330 million people in that country. So I believe the United States, just like any other country, the people are always amazing. The people are not the pain in the ass. It's the ones up top. It's the ones who are running the show that are the problem.
Yep, as ever. And Paul is saying, yes, Chris, it's your system that's the problem. It's always the system, isn't it? The US lectures the world. This show is the best of the best. So that's what I thought. And Julianne, one of the best of the best. Yay, Donna Jacqueline. We're all of us very glad of that intervention, I think. And it is interesting how both Frank and I sat up and behaved a little better when she called it. We'll tidy our rooms later.
Now that I know that she's watching, I'll really behave. I'm just like she's watching. I gotta mind my P's and Q's.
Exactly, and then saying, and I secretly watched the Man Cave. Oh no, we're going to be so self-conscious now, aren't we?
Yeah.
It's a bit like having your parents at a party. The YouTube feed is way delayed from the Facebook feed. Okay, so this is the problem. We're victims of our popularity on all these platforms. That may be what Donna Jacqueline was hearing. But I think we got the gist of it. I hope we did Donna Jacqueline proud and respectfully there with her contribution. Definitely the quality of life and safety in Portugal for me, says Doreen Reyes. Hi, Doreen. Love your show and spirit. Glad I found it. Makes me want to move to Portugal ASAP. Obrigado for making me laugh through the pain in the US. Job done. If we've done that today, mission accomplished as far as I'm concerned. Eh, Frank? Yep, she's the best.
Tonight is the kind of night where there's going to be a big population that is not going to be happy, and they need to see us laughing.
Yes, absolutely. Speaking for myself, says Lisa, as an American, I knew that, and I know you. That's kind of naturally prefaces your comments, Lisa. You're owning it. Portugal epitomizes exactly what's lacking in the US. That's why we love it there. Thank you, Lisa, for that. And get Gary Reds under the bed. To which Chris replies, "Ooh, kinky." I can hear him saying it. I'm not looking socialism at all. I actually defend it daily with Portugal as an example. Yeah, fair play. New meaning to Reds under the bed. I think Reds in the bed, actually, Gary. It's the ultimate chat up line, possibly. Hi, how are you doing? I'm a socialist. I can't imagine Charles saying that. That's the very. Is this a bed comment? That's a very blanket statement, Lisa. Red's in the bed with all those blankets. There is an Indian proverb. I'm guessing you've been auto-corrected there. There's an Indian proverb that says, when the elephants fight, it's the grass that suffers. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And for the record, I am happy. Fantastic, Joy. That's wonderful. I did say, I don't know if Lauren is still here, but let's just quickly look at how Portugal is doing with the pandemic. I can't not do that now, having promised it earlier on. And for this, I will go to my favored source for doing this, which is Worldometers, because I hope it's the actual stat. I take it for granted as read that it has read. Why is that phrase, taking it as read, when socialists can't be trusted, it would seem? So here we are, Worldometers, coronavirus cases. Let's view by country. I mean, that's dismal reading for the totals there. We are now looking at worldometers.info. I will go into view by country, if it will allow me to do that, and we will look at how Portugal is doing in the world ranking, just to answer Lauren's question. Come on, Worldometers, help me out here. Here we go. USA.
Are we still in the 40s?
No, we were in the 30s now, but look, USA number one. We won't dwell there. As we scroll down and down and down, we get to number 36.
Okay.
With 156,000 total cases. Apparently, a third of the population have been tested in Portugal, which is news to me. New cases, 7,000. Total deaths, 2,694. And new deaths at 59. So that gives you an idea. The figure, and Gary, you've said this before, but the important figure is deaths per million of population, I think, to show how a country is dealing with it in terms of, mortality.
Mm-hmm.
I never hear about San Marino, do you? That is number one in this. And this, when you look at the chart according to number of deaths per million, it makes for very interesting reading. Donald Trump would claim this, wouldn't he? The ninth in that respect under his leadership. And we scroll down and we see loads of countries we've never heard of. And then eventually we do get to Portugal in the 40s there, as you were saying, Frank, in this, when you use this metric. And,
I thought it was infections per million, or is it deaths per million?
Well, I think deaths per million is the right figure to be looking at, and it really puts things into perspective. And no death is good. Let's say that, obviously, but the deaths per million from COVID-19 in Portugal are 264.
Okay.
And just looking at the numbers generally per million, it is pretty terrifying when you look at San Marino and Peru and Belgium. But way down, Portugal is way down in the 40s in this regard at 264 deaths per million of population. If that is in any way a consolation, and when we're looking at data like this, I'm doing what politicians do now. I'm looking at the numbers, which dehumanizes things. But Lauren did ask, and I hope that kind of illuminates the situation in terms of the pandemic effect and how Portugal is handling it. I think we're probably all going to be in this condition now, Steve. Got to run, boys. Good show, and thanks for the laughs. I'm glad we have got some laughs in tonight, Frank. Before we go, are there any more numbers in? And Penny's here, also lurking, and probably another closet viewer of the man cave. Excess deaths is the only meaningful measure. Very good, Penny.
Yeah,
I think you're right. I think you're right. Yeah, I think the number, what I was suggesting there, I think that number is valid per million. But you're absolutely right to bring again, it's context, isn't it? It's the context in which those deaths are occurring. What would ordinarily be happening in a given year, and what is the excess death measures? And governments don't like to talk about that when they're introducing strict measures for the population, do they? Because it would undermine any sense of authoritarian measures or people being expected to do things that they're not happy to do. Well said, Penny. Have we got an update finally then before we leave tonight, Frank? Anything on your TV?
We're still at 264. Actually, CNN hasn't updated since 253. But if it's 264 we're looking at, then it's all good news for Biden supporters.
Yeah.
by within the next hour or two. I think this will be settled.
Okay.
And America will have a new president. Is this president number 47 or 48, or is it in the 50s now?
I thought Trump was POTUS 45, wasn't he? That will be answered, I'm sure.
He's 45. So the next one will be 46.
But does he get to be 45 and 46, or does he remain 45?
But don't ask him that.
Good answer. He's good with numbers. He's very good with numbers. Gary Austin, available of hospital beds. Of course, it's important, Gary, and that's the justification. You know, it is important, and that's the figure governments like, isn't it? Because they will say lockdown is to ease pressure on the availability of hospital beds, and you know, isn't that in retrospect and 2020 vision? Pardon the use of that phrase. You know, it's easy to have 2020 vision, or easier. You know, that's what we should have been gearing up for, right? We should have been increasing our development of ventilators and ICU capability to deal with this. But you're right, Gary. That is an important consideration as well. Nevada said they won't give the results until tomorrow. Last I heard, says Lisa. So someone answered questions there. Is he 45 or 46 or both? What will happen? Will we get to 270 tonight? And even if we do, there's going to be much more wrangling and rowing and legal procedures, and the new president or the existing one won't be in office officially until the 20th, 21st of January. You have our sympathies, America. You really do. And like last night, I just want to finish by saying, by sending love and prayers and hopes and best wishes for the vision to come together, for the vision you need, and for the healing to take place from this barbarous process that you've been through. Some of you for the last 4 years, as you see it, and certainly in the last few months, it's been hideous, hasn't it? So lots of love to you all, and Godspeed, and all the best, and boa sorte, as we would say in Portugal. Good luck for the future here on in. Frank, final word to you.
No, I'm all good. Good luck to the Americans. I'm kind of, in a way, I'm kind of sad that, you know, it's what am I going to do for entertainment? But, you know, it's what can I say? I only work here.
There's the Canadian quip to end the show. Thanks for another great show from Eric J. See you tomorrow. See you then, Eric. Thank you from Lisa. Lisa, amazing. Thank you for your contributions tonight. Part of why we all love coming here, Carl, is your great attitude and hosting. My pleasure. My absolute pleasure, Anne. So, yes, have a good rest of the day there over there in the States. The lawyers are up next, says Charles. They always are, Charles, aren't they? You never, like rats, you're never more than 10 feet away from one, apparently. And thanks, guys, from Gary. Yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. I hope it's not too stressful for you. There's the final word. I need a drink.
I need a drink.
So, chin chin to you, Charles, and to all who've joined us tonight. Thank you so much. See you again soon. And ciao, my friends. See you in the Friday night for the Man Cave, says Charles. See you. Ciao for now. Bye, everybody, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Ciao, ciao. Beijinhos, abrazos.